going to try to show you today is we're going to take a little look at some of the different, some of the different epithelial tissue real quick. Going to try to walk you through some of the different ones that we would need to be seeing on this one. So as you can kind of see on this first image here, this is a piece of kidney. It's actually this image right here over on the side. So what I'm going to do is actually going to kind of zoom in on this one. The first thing I want to show you is just that simple squamous and where you can find it. So in the kidney, this is in a structure called the glomerulus. So it's going to be these kind of, I would say, look a little bit like grape-like structures that are out near the surface of, or the cortex of the kidney. So you can start seeing some of these little circular structures right here. As we zoom in on these a little bit more, you can kind of see on each of these structures, and this is probably the best one right over here. So as you look at this one, you can see that there is this little area of capillary beds right here. Surrounding this, there's a little space. This is called the glomerular capsule. That it zoomed out on me now. This is called the glomerular capsule right here. And then lining this is that simple squamous epithelium. So you can see very flat cells. There's a little nucleus right there, another little one right here. These kind of tend to look like fried eggs. This is usually one of the best spots you can see it. We could also see this, honestly, in probably the next best place would be lung tissue. So the next one I want to show you is some of the simple cuboidal. Actually, right on the same image, we can see them in a few different spots. So right next to it, right in this area right here, these are simple cuboidal cells. You can see some are a little bit more rounded off. This would actually probably be a distal convoluted tubule. This would be a proximal. Not that you need to know that right now. But those would be examples both here and here of simple cuboidal cells. So the last of the simple epithelium I want to show you is going to be over on the side over here. I can scroll up and down. So if we go to the digestive tract here, so this is part of the intestine. So this would be the intestinal lining right here. You can see these little finger-like structures are called villi, but if we zoom in on one of these, what you can see, and if I go on these a little bit more, you can see these goblet cells right here, and these cells that are kind of tall and skinny from about here to here. You can see them a little bit better on this side. These tall, skinny cells right here are simple columnar cells. So the nucleus is more at the base of these things, a little bit more sausage shaped, as you can see on these ones. You can see here's the surface of it, the basement membrane right here. These would be those goblet cells that we talked a little bit about with the mucus in them. So that would be an example of the simple columnar. So the other ones I want to kind of walk you through are the different stratified types. So if we go to esophagus, so this would be the esophageal lining right here. This is the luminal surface. Basal surface would be right here. What I'm going to do is zoom in on that epithelial surface of this. So again, you can see this would be epithelium. This would be the basement membrane right here. That is that apical surface up here. This would be that stratified squamous epithelium. This is the non-keratinized version. So you can see on this one, there is no flaky keratin on the surface here. You can see the cells, as they work their way up, get flatter and flatter. It might be a little bit more cuboidal shaped here, but at the apical surface, they are flat, therefore stratified squamous. Let's see. So for the other ones here, like I said, stratified columnar, we're not going to be able to find a good example of. What I'm going to do here real quick, the ones that I can show you on this, and then I will jump back out and take you to a different area here. But there's a couple other things I can show you in terms of some of the rest of these ones here. So on the ureter, if we zoom in on this one, so again, basal surface down here, apical surface here. This lining of the ureter, you can see a little bit more rounded off cells with kind of these flattened out cells on the surface. This is that transitional epithelium. So this is the kind that can stretch out. We don't have a distended kidney in this picture right here, or excuse me, a descended version of it here. But this is showing you that transitional epithelium. Again, really urinary tract based. So you're looking at mainly the ureters and the bladder is the main place you're going to see this. A little bit in the kidney, but not much. But this is a good example of that relaxed version of it. So the only other one I can show you on this list right here before going to a different type would be pseudostratified. So if we zoom in on the surface of the trachea, as you can kind of see here, let me get to a good spot on it. And we're going to zoom in a little bit more. So in this one, you can see, again, looks like multiple layers of nuclei here. This would be the basement membrane. It's hard to see from this image, but technically on this image, all those cells are in contact with the basement membrane and therefore are pseudostratified cells. So you see this in the trachea. Mainly is probably the best place to see this is in the respiratory tract. A few other places you can find pseudostratified without the cilia. This is when you can see the cilia really well at the surface right there. Outside of that, what I need to do is go back to the main menu here and see if we can go to the skin real quick. If we can go to the skin, we can see the last little of the pseudostratified, as well as more than likely I can also find you a good example of stratified cuboidal. All right, so this is skin right here. This is thick skin. So this would show you the keratinized version of that stratified squamous. So again, you can see the basement membrane right here. These are actually monocytes if you ever want to know, but that's why there's a pigment here. But you can see at the surface on this one, you get this flaky surface here. That is the keratinized version of this. If we go to the scalp or someplace else that has a little bit more in terms of, this one's gonna have a better one. Pretty much in all these little areas right here, those would be those stratified cuboidal. So you can see basement membrane right here, bunch of cube-shaped cells that are at least height and width are about the same. These would all be stratified cuboidal. So on this one, like I said, I just really wanted to show you the different types of epithelium. Those are the different subtypes that we talked about. Like I said, the only one we didn't see here is stratified columnar, which again is not something you're going to be able to find pretty easy at all on any side. It does exist, but again, much more difficult to find on any of these ones. So I wanted to show you the types that we could see. This is stuff as we get to this stuff for that second lecture test. For the second exam, there will be some of these images ones in here that I may have you identifying this or the different connective tissues. But again, wanted to just show you the different epithelial subtypes. So I will tape another one of these looking at the connective tissue, and then a third one looking at kind of those supporting connective tissues.